Have you noticed these cameras popping up everywhere on the side of the road? A company called Flock makes them, and they help the police track everyone that drives by them, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And this isn't just about catching criminals or finding stolen vehicles. It's about mass surveillance that affects everyone, even if you've done nothing wrong. So here's why police license plate readers are far more dangerous than you thought, and importantly, what you can do about it. So why do cops love these cameras in the first place?
Every move you make, every law you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you.
These are automatic license plate readers that are being installed all over the country, primarily by police departments and local cities and counties. However, even some homeowners associations have installed Flock cameras. Flock claims to have cameras in over 5,000 different communities across 42 states. Flock cameras are monitoring and recording the data of everyone who passes them 24/7. They're not just targeting criminals, and unlike speed cameras or red light cameras, they're not just logging the data of people who allegedly break the law. Flock cameras are logging the data of everyone who passes by the lens. And how many cameras are getting put up at one time? 10 or 20? Norfolk, Virginia has been inundated with 172 Flock cameras. That's a few more than 10 or 20. The police chief brags about his nice curtain of technology, which makes it, quote, difficult to drive anywhere of any distance without running into a camera somewhere. Do you see the problem yet? But big cities aren't the only ones going crazy for this form of surveillance. Yes, I'm from the country, so Norfolk is a big city to me. I was stunned to learn recently that even King George County, Virginia, has Flock cameras. The population of King George County is just over 26,000 people. It's mostly rural farmland with one large Navy research base. There's probably more livestock in King George than actual people. And it's not just Flock cameras the cops are in love with. The latest edition of dash cameras are on their Christmas lists too. A company called Axon makes the Fleet 3 dash camera that also boasts ALPR technology. And as far as I understand, Motorola, another major dash cam producer for the police, also has this technology on theirs. So every police cruiser in many counties is logging the license plate and location and time of every vehicle that it drives by. This is a good example of being careful what you wish for. We all want police accountability, and cameras are good for that. However, the police are turning the tables. Now, the cameras are tracking us, even though we did nothing wrong. And these cameras, in fact, work annoyingly well. I recently had a case where the Stafford County Sheriff's Office found my client via the Fleet 3 ALPR system. The client allegedly committed an offense at a shopping center, and the deputies were given a license plate. They ran that license plate through the Fleet 3 software, and they got a hit just across town from minutes earlier. They were able to go to the location and find the client where the Fleet 3 system said he would be. But what's the big deal? The cops can catch criminals faster, and you and I have done nothing wrong, right? Well, then you don't understand government overreach and the right to privacy. Just imagine the person that you most dislike and disagree with politically being in charge of your local community and police department. Whichever side of the aisle you're from, imagine the opposite guy or girl being in charge. Now, give that person the surveillance capability to watch what everyone's doing 24/7 anytime they move about the city. Do you see how this could be abused and problematic? Giving the government, and especially the guys with guns, the ability to track all of our movements anywhere we go will end badly, no matter which side of this debate you think you're on right now. Fortunately, people are fighting back, and you can as well. Here's what's happening right now in Virginia. Criminal defense lawyers in Norfolk are challenging Flock cameras as unconstitutional searches. They're arguing that since the police accessed the Flock ALPR data without a search warrant, that constitutes a search that's in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Unfortunately, this strategy is having very mixed results. In Commonwealth v. Bell last year, the judge ruled that the police do need a search warrant in order to access the Flock ALPR data for then it to be admissible in court. But in Commonwealth v. Robinson and Commonwealth v. Roberson, two other judges ruled that the police do not need a search warrant. And in those cases, the ALPR data was allowed into evidence at trial. Thankfully, the Institute for Justice is trying a different approach, suing the city of Norfolk in federal court. Their case, Schmidt versus City of Norfolk, just survived the city's motion to dismiss, which means the case should proceed towards trial. If the lawsuit prevails, the court could shut down the entire flock program in the City of Norfolk as an unconstitutional search. Also, the Virginia General Assembly took action this year with a bill to limit police ALPR usage. That bill is now awaiting the governor's signature, so we'll see if it actually passes. At the time of this recording, there are a few helpful provisions in the bill that would help to limit police use of your data as you're traveling around the city. First, the police can currently keep your data on file forever. The bill only allows storing data for 21 days. I'd like to see that limited much more, as in maybe 48 hours. That would be plenty of time to help catch active crimes in progress or suspects that are fleeing, but we wouldn't then be building a massive surveillance database where, frankly, with AI, if you have data saved for months and months, AI could easily pick out an exact pattern to show when a suspect or somebody that you're interested in following goes to work every single day. Just like that. It would be no problem. We need to limit how long the data is stored. 48 hours is more than sufficient. Second, the police can currently look at your travel data in the ALPR system for any reason. There's no limits unless the local police department has established some policy. So the bill limits access to particular purposes, such as missing persons, searching for someone with an active arrest warrant, stolen vehicles, and of course the way too broad category of any criminal investigation based on reasonable suspicion. But at least some limits are better than no limits. Third, there's currently no requirement for record keeping about how the police are actually using ALPR data. The bill would require that the police do keep records and report all of that to the state. This creates a public paper trail of how they're using the data, how often they're accessing the data, and so forth. While that's not perfect, at least a paper trail helps us citizens see what's really happening so we can maybe better add more limits in the future. The problem is that the bill also has some terrible provisions that will further entrench ALPR and turn us into a surveillance state, much like the UK already is. For one, it provides a system for localities to obtain permits to install ALPR cameras in the state-maintained right-of-way, which is currently against the law. More places to install cameras is going to lead to more cameras. And second, the bill exempts flock and other ALPR cameras from the Freedom of Information Act. So the police, a public agency, can collect data about where you and I go in public. But then us taxpayers, who paid for the system and pay for the police to operate it, and are the actual subjects of the surveillance, aren't allowed to know what exact data they're collecting. You may be thinking by now that you've done nothing wrong, so what's the harm in using these cameras to help catch criminals and find missing kids? Do I need to remind you that 5 years ago, the government told you you're not allowed to leave your house unless you're essential or on essential business? When that happens again, and it will, and you're just trying to go to church or work or to go buy some food for your kids so they don't starve, ALPR cameras will make it a snap for the police to know that you violated the stay-at-home order, and they'll be able to track you down and put you in a quarantine camp. If you think I'm being extreme, do you remember what happened 5 years ago? So what can you do to limit this government overreach? What if your community's thinking about adding ALPR flock cameras or Fleet 3 cameras in the police cruisers? I've often wondered how long I could drive around without license plates on my vehicle in the first place. I think I actually could make it for a couple months before anybody even pulled me over. It's crazy the things you see out there on the road. But I'm not advocating for you to break the law ever. It's not a good idea. Someday, I hope to do some testing, maybe here on the channel, about license plate obfuscation techniques that do not break the law. But for now, the best approach is to oppose ALPR, full stop. If you find out your local government or police department is considering installing flock cameras or getting Axon Fleet 3 or whatever the newest version may be, you should oppose it. Rally your neighbors against it and be vocal in a polite and civil way. You might not be able to abolish ALPR technology in your community, but hopefully you can encourage your community to establish reasonable limits on how it can be used, such as looking for missing children and searching for stolen vehicles. And importantly, you could lobby to limit the storage of the data. 48 hours is more than enough to search for active criminal investigations or hot pursuit of suspects and things like that. The police likely have an agreement with Flock, that says how long the data can be stored. That's a term that the police department could change anytime the public wants it changed. So that's certainly a change that you could have a great effect on, is just limiting how much data is stored and for how long. And for more concrete tips to fight the police trying to track you, check out this next video about GPS trackers. And remember, don't talk to the police.